Okay, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're doing well. I saw many people eating empty calorie food. Oh, I thought that we studied empty calorie food last week. So I thought that my class was interesting and that now nobody will be eating healthy. And this chapter is about what? Planning what? The healthy diet, right? So you guys, everybody has a class before this class? 12 p.m. class, right? This is why you are all hungry. Yeah. It reminds me what one student told my teacher in high school. Empty belly has no ears. So I'm really in trouble. I hope you're going to have some ears for me today, all right? But today we're going to finish the chapter, the part 2, all right, about planning a healthy diet. But today I will only focus on the grains, as you can see on the PPT. You know, we eat a lot of grains in Korea, right? And last week we saw how we can kind of change it a little bit. So that part is what we're going to look at today, and also look at maybe some diseases and stuff like that. And also we talk about the water content on the first class. Then we also see today how much water you really need, okay, every day. So if you look at your PPT, I hope you had a chance to look at it, right? So here I gave you the 2 types of grains that we usually have. All right. So you have the whole grain and we have the refined grain. Okay. So oftentimes we will ask people, okay, what did you eat? Okay, I ate some rice, but we don't know what kind of rice did they eat. Okay. And what is recommended is what? If you check on your PPT, what I wrote is, you know, 50%, half of the grains that we eat must be what? Whole grain. Okay? So what is the difference? What is the difference between the two? What is the difference between the two? All right? So if you look at the picture, it doesn't really show the whole thing properly. I mean, it shows the whole grain here, right? Basically, the whole grain, we did not remove everything. It is the original grain. That original grain has all the nutrients that you need. All right? So if I have to draw something, so we have the grain here, the anterior part that we call the endosperm. Okay? So, and inside here, you're going to see this part here, all right? So, what do we have there? We call it the germ, all right? And then we have these big covering parts, okay, that we call the bran. So this is the whole grain, the full grain, nothing is removed, it's intact. Then what happened? We refine it, right? Now we're talking about processed food and things like that. We will check it out in a minute. What happened here is, this is removed, and basically, what do we have left? Yes. All right. So this is what we have left. Okay. Now, remember when we plan our diet, one of the first elements that we look at adequacy, we want to make sure that we have sufficient nutrients. We want to make sure that we have all the nutrients possible, you know, to be food secure. So when you look at it, if you can pay attention to the PPT here, let's look at the nutrients that we have in the different parts of the grain. I gave you like these 3 parts here: the endosperm, the germ, and the bran, right? So let's take a look. Let's take a look a little bit. I already highlight. We have like the carbs per gram. We have the protein. We have the fat. We have the fiber, the iron, and other things such as vitamins. Okay. So what is happening here? When you look at the brand here, take the example of the fibers, for example. All right. So you can see that we have a lot of fibers here. I think it's around what? 43. My eyes are not that good. Okay. Remember, on the refined grain, what do we have left on the refined grain? Is this one, the endosperm. So let's focus on the endosperm. Right? Let's focus on that one. And we compare it to the bran and the germ in terms of the nutrients. Okay? So what do you observe? Let's say, for example, about the fibers, here we have 43. How about the endosperm? How much do we have? 4. It's a big difference, isn't it? Alright, it's a big difference. Now, if I look at the iron here, on the bran, how much do I have? 59. Yeah, 59. And the endosperm? 7. Another big difference in terms of the nutrients that we are losing by processing the food. Okay? So let's look at the vitamins, for example. On the bran, we talk about a group of B vitamins. Okay? So, do you see any B vitamins on the endosperm? Do you see any vitamins there? No. Do you see any vitamins on the germ? Yeah, we have some, right? So, this is why, when we talk, the other day, when we talk about processed food, we talk about refined food, all right? So, I am not saying that eating the white rice or white bread is necessarily bad, but we just have to understand that we will be lacking some nutrients from this food, from the processed food, okay? We will be lacking some. So then, what is the solution? What will be the solution? What can we do? Anybody remembers? Do you remember what we mean by enriched food? Yeah. Right? Do you remember what we mean by enriched food? What does it mean, enriched food?
Add the nutrient that was removed.
Yeah, very good. So, enriched food, okay, ladies and gentlemen, everybody must know the definition. I'm going to write on the board. Alright? Just have the vision. Try to have the vision again of this refined grain, right? That lost some vitamins, okay? That lost some nutrients. So then what do we do? Enriched food is what? Here, enriched food means we are adding back, very important, we are adding back, right? For example, in this case, what are we adding back? Vitamins, right? So we are adding back vitamins, or you can say all the nutrients, vitamins that were lost during processing. Okay? These vitamins, when we were processing the grains, these vitamins were lost, right? Because we remove, right? We remove the other parts of the grain. Alright? So we remove the endosperm, you remove the germ, we only have the we only have the endosperm, but we remove the bran and the germ, right? So if we lose vitamins or some nutrient during processing, we add them back. So now the food is enriched. Okay? Questions? Or you guys are hungry? I mean, we have a class when? Wednesday morning, 9 a.m. So you guys come to class tired, right? And then we have a class when Monday at 1:30 when everybody's hungry, back-to-back classes, no problem. Let's keep talking about the food. All right? So in rich food, nutrients that were lost during processing, we are adding back these nutrients. All right? So if you want to put it in a simple illustration, you can put it this way. Oh, okay, here I have vitamin A, and then the food is processed. Vitamin A observed, right? So then what do? We add it back, and then the final food. So we have these vitamins again. Now, we do that with certain food, right? And I think, I don't know before I was discussing that, the challenge is sometimes with other nutrients, such as our fibers, and not always able to add it, all right? So, another option, another thing that we do, and this is something that you're going to see often, right? This time, let's say for example, you're eating certain food, and that food lacks some nutrients. All right? The food lacks some nutrient. So what do? Yes. So we adding what? She said 45 food. What does it mean? She said we fortify the food. Okay, hold on. So 45 food. So what? Yeah, say that again. 45 food. What do we do?
Adding new nutrients.
Exactly. Here, remember, in rich food, we are adding some nutrient back. You know, keyword is back. It means they were there, right? Lost them. Adding back to the process, and adding them to the food. But 45 food, it's different. Here, we are adding what? New nutrient. Very important to know the difference between the two. Okay? With 45 food, I am adding new. I'm adding new nutrients. Okay? I am adding new nutrients. Okay, okay? So, you know, in that way, for example, I think you guys can remember, especially those who are in nutrition. For example, you say, okay, we have some people, you know, we're going to see it, I think, in chapter 3, the relationship between food and health, right? Probably going to see that, you know, if not Wednesday, next week, okay? So, we say, for example, somebody who's what? Iron deficient, right? Which disease is associated with iron deficiency? Do you remember? Anemia. So now we're having a problem with the blood and stuff like that, right? So, but don't worry, we look more into it next week in chapter 3, in the relationship between nutrition and health. Okay, look at some nutrients. Remember, when we study these things, everything is really about the nutrients, right? Excess will cause some problem, deficiency will cause some problem. Okay, okay? So, that's really what we have to understand with this one here. So on the next slide, he just show you a little bit when he talks about the fiber. I was explaining to Mr. Choi the other day, you know, talking about especially the problem with energy, right? You know, some people will say, okay, fibers, does it give you energy? Some people will say, oh yeah, it's not digestible, right? The body cannot break it, so if the body doesn't break it, so hey, no energy, you know. And other people will argue that, hey, it's a carbohydrate, should give you like 4 kilocalories and stuff like that. And, you know, and recent article that I read, other people argue that, you know, this one will give you maybe around 2 kilocalories, all right? So there are still a lot of research going on, but we know that, you know, we really need, fibers are really important for our health. We have a different recommendation, but it turns around 20 to 35, and you may have slightly different numbers, depending if it's a woman or if it's a man, all right? Okay, so today, because of health issues, there's always a lot of debate about what gives me energy, or people are running away from energy. And I think Alberto asked me about energy on coffee, right? Yeah. So, just to come back to it quickly, not that it's the topic, you know, coffee itself, they will say coffee itself will give you 0 energy. But it's rare for people to just have like, you know, coffee itself. Usually I like coffee with milk and stuff like that. So coffee with cream, you have all kind of a latte, right? And this is the part that probably give you more energy. So when he asks the question, it's always like, is it pure coffee or it's coffee with, so the argument is this, okay, coffee itself, you know, 0 energy, but coffee with milk, coffee with cream may give you this amount of energy, okay?
So no energy, no calorie?
Yeah. So they will say like pure coffee, 0 calorie from what I read, okay? Not an expert on it, but I think different research conclude the same thing, that coffee itself, 0 energy, coffee with milk, coffee with cream, then you're having energy. Okay, so talking about the fibers and how important it is, as we recommend it for people to have enough of it, I would like to just remind us that there is no fiber in the meat group of food. All right? So these are fibers. Where do we get the fibers from? Yeah, vegetables and fruit, right? So, and this is an experiment that was done in Cleveland, in Ohio, by Dr. Caldwell. You know, he's a vegan. You have in the U.S. a group of really doctors and scientists who are vegan and who are really pushing to go more into a vegan diet, right? This is an experiment that was done with a lady who had a problem, you know, who had like coronary heart disease, okay? Coronary heart disease. And I would like you to look at this picture carefully, because what I put here is fibers from the whole brain will reduce the risk of coronary heart disease, okay? The importance of having really a lot of fibers in our diet. They may reduce constipation, and they may also help you to maintain a healthy weight, right? So when you look at coronary heart disease, a lot of people had to go through surgery, right? So you look at here, this picture, you have a very nice blood flow here, okay? And then, what happened after? So you have this plate here that are basically obstructing the whole thing, and it becomes problematic, right? So they did the experiment, what they call like reversing the disease. There are also cases like that where they will remove people on medication. They say no surgery. We remove people on medication. Same case with type 2 diabetes. We look at it another day. All right. So what happened here? If you look at the picture here, you look at the thing here, the artery here. You see how small it is. Very, very small, right? So it's not kind of okay here, and then you have that restrictions, right? from the blood flow, and you have all these clots, and then what happens? You know, it's heart problem, heart attack, stroke, things like that. So from 1996 to 1999, 3 years. So he put her on a special diet. I actually have the video of, I told you about that movie that they put together in the US, the problem of obesity in the US. So, and what happened after, you can see the change here, that everything is becoming normal again. All right? It's becoming normal again. So she was off medication. Doesn't have to take medication, doesn't need to go through surgery. All right? So this is what we will look at, this semester, also reversing some disease through nutrition. We really understand that food is important. What we put in our body is important. Whatever we put inside our body, something will happen, either good or bad, but something will happen. So she changed her diet, and after 3 years, everything became normal again, kind of a restoration. Didn't need to go through surgery again, all right? So, but I have to say she adopted the vegan diet, all right? So no more animal products, okay? No more animal products. I know it's very difficult to say that in Korea, but long time ago, I think the movie also talks about Korea. That was the diet of the Korean people, years ago. A diet that is rich in grain and vegetables. But today, Korea is going through a nutrition transition, where the diet is more and more like the diet in the West. And this is why the #1 killer in Korea is what? Cancer. We're having a lot of heart disease as well. The level of type 2 diabetes is also rising. And these are all associated with the problem of obesity that we can look at here. That on this picture, you can look at, everybody is okay with it, that obesity is associated with type 2 diabetes, high blood pressure, stroke, heart disease, problem with vascular sclerosis, and some cases of cancer. Okay? So this is why we have to look into it, all right? And that the vegetarian diet will actually help people to reduce risk of diabetes, high blood pressure, and cardiovascular disease. Okay? All right. So now we talk about processed food, especially today. Most food that we eat, kind of processed. We're changing the food. All right. And a very interesting picture I would like you guys to look at is what is actually taking place here. For example, we talk about the problem of high blood pressure. Which mineral is often associated with high blood pressure? Huh? Yes, sodium, salt, if you want. Excess of salt or sodium, can help us, if I may say, to have blood pressure, right? So now we are processing the food, and when we process the food, what is happening here? I'll give you a simple example. When you look at this picture, let's focus. Here we have unprocessed food, and if you want whole food, right? And then we have here the processed one, but like you say, let's focus on the sodium part. When you look at these pictures from unprocessed to processed food, what do you see?
More sodium.
Exactly. So what do we see? We can see that here is what? Is it yellow or orange? My eyes are not good. Orange? Yellow? Alright. I think I gotta see my doctor again, eh? Getting old. Okay, yellow. Alright? So this one is also yellow? Or white? Yellow? Yellow? Alright. So let's look at the level of sodium. All right, we go from whole milk to these, how do you call it, instant chocolate pudding. You see that the level of sodium that was not much here increased as we process the food. Okay, as we process the food. Let me go extreme. The roast beef, the same thing. When you're having from the roast beef to the cheap one, we go from fresh corn to this canned cream corn. Actually, I like this. I have some good recipe with this. Yeah, and I was telling the guys that it's kind of a challenge because we eat a lot of processed food and we add salt on it again, right? Yeah. So this is what is interesting though. Look at the fresh peach here, and then look at the peach pie. You know, I don't want to get the name of the restaurant, but I sometimes like it. They give you this apple pie. It's only $1, $1, kind of delicious. But you can see that almost no sodium content here, but here, and you can see how it increases. The grains, we talk about the grains, grown coals, and then you have the cold cereals. You can see the big difference. All right? So basically, you have the different food groups out there. We have the milk, meat, vegetables, fruit, and grains. Nobody is safe. So this is our 2018 diet. This is how we eat every day. So I'll ask you the question. When you eat every day, do you eat mostly on processed or processed food? Processed food. In that case, is it likely that we're gonna be sodium deficient? Is it likely? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Sodium deficiency can happen. It's pretty rare. It sometimes happens mostly to older people. We probably have a chance to look at it because we're going to look at the life cycle, right? Like I told you, the second part of the class, we focus on the mother and then the child, the adolescent, and the older people. The diet of different groups of people. It may happen. So how do we call a deficiency? Or how do we call sodium deficiency? Any idea? How do we call sodium deficiency? Sodium deficiency. Yeah. No. If you are sodium deficient? Any idea? Any idea? But we can kind of guess, when we say, for example, we come back here, we talk about hypertension, right? What would be the opposite of hyper? That would be what? Opposite of hyper? Hypo, right? Let's start with that one, right? So, and then, Ms. Park, what did you say when you talk about hypertension is associated with excess of what? Yeah. Okay. So here we have that part which is associated with the sodium. Hyponatremia. This is when we're talking about sodium deficiency. Now my question was, is it likely to be sodium deficient? No, why?
Because you already ate too much processed meat. Too much processed further things.
Yeah. So did you what is? I mean, being sodium deficient, it's kind of difficult because most food that we eat is processed, and as we just look at, right? If you look back, right? If we eat mostly this side of the food, we actually having a lot of sodium, right? In our diet, okay? We're having a lot of sodium in our diet. So this part, we look at this part again on another time where we will be counting our calories. And this is actually very, very important when we're talking about, for example, the case of cardiovascular disease. We're talking about cases of coronary heart disease and the chapter related to fat. When we eat the samgyeopsal, you guys remember, right? This is the part that everybody says, the white part, called saturated fat, that everybody says is delicious, all right? But if that part is actually removed, right, we will go from 340 kilocalorie here to what? 230 kilocalorie. So we're starting to count the energy that we put in our body. So once again, if we talk about checking our weight, we are talking about being healthy. I told you it's not necessarily how much you eat, but it is what? What you eat. The kind of food you put in your body. Alright? Because you have this part alone that seems to give you over 100 calories, which is a lot. So you see this small piece, removing only this part, you go from 340 kilocalorie to 230. So we talk about 110 kilocalorie here that you are chopping off your body. So if you follow the taste, then we find ourselves in trouble. All right, we find ourselves in trouble. So one thing that I would like to review with you guys before we close it is what we mentioned in the beginning about, for example, we're talking about the diseases that we may have. We see that more next week. See that more next week on the next chapter. But it is good to know at this time, and we calculate the water content at the same time. So, excess of sodium give us which disease? So, we have in here excess of sodium give you what? So we have probably high blood pressure. Okay? Now, the challenge sometimes that we have, because we're not gonna study like all the nutrients or all the specifically all the minerals and stuff like that, but there are specific ones that are very important for you guys to look up to, and because they are also the ones that are more commonly we see mostly here in Korea, right? For example, if I talk this is a problem that we commonly see here, especially with elderly ladies here in Korea, problem of osteoporosis. Osteoporosis is associated with which deficiency? Osteoporosis. If I talk about, what is osteoporosis? You guys, from the bones. We have the healthy bones here, and then we have the bone that is getting chipped, right? We're losing our bones and things like that. All right? It's actually a serious problem here that we're having more and more in Korea, right? Especially with Korean ladies and stuff like that, right? From osteoporosis. And this problem is associated with which mineral? Calcium and what? Yeah, mostly calcium, but calcium and what? Yeah? Yes, exactly. With vitamin D. And I know, hey, you guys don't like the sun, right? But, you know, exposure a little bit to the sun with the X-rays allows the body to actually make vitamin D. And vitamin D will help you, to absorb the calcium. Okay? Will help us to absorb the calcium. Now, another thing that when we presented the syllabus, remember, I asked the question, because now we're going to start to study like some of these minerals that are very important. As we know, the most important nutrient, what was the most important nutrient that I mentioned here? Do you remember?
Minerals.
Are you guys doing to me empty belly, has no ears? You are so hungry, you want to go home now? Right? So maybe empty calorie food will help at this time, eh? Empty calorie food will be good. Alright, so let's come back. We'll finish pretty much soon. So, what is the most important nutrient that we need?
Water.
So we talk about water here, okay? So, I asked you, remember I asked you on the first class, which quantity, how much water do we need daily?
2 liters.
She says 2 liters. Another answer, everybody says 2. How much water do we need? In the morning I saw people with a lot of water, not this time. How much water do we need? Everybody is okay with 2? How did you get 2? How did you get 2?
Guess.
You just guessed? Any other answer? How much water do we need?
4.
Huh?
4.
4?
4.
4? 4 liters? Wow. Yeah, maybe. Why? Why 4?
I don't know.
Just
Just guess.
guessing? This is a way to tell me, or just give us the answer and we will go home, right? All right, but let us reason together. All right, people do it differently. It's not unanimous, right? It's not unanimous, and there are different type of calculations. And like I told you, in this class we do, some little calculations and try to understand why we do what we do, right? We don't just put numbers. We try to understand what's going on here. Okay, so I will tell you a little bit how they get the 2, but it will depend because Alberto looks like a big guy. Do you think we need the same amount of water?
No.
Do you need more?
Yes.
Yeah. I think he needs more. Right. So basically, I give you an example. In general, people will just say, "Oh, okay, we go what we call 30 milliliter, right, per 1 kilogram." This is what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your weight. Okay. My first year here at Kemion, I asked. It was on a quiz question. I asked the students to calculate their own body mass index. Everybody remember body mass index, right? Yeah. And then the student, who was a young lady, she got perfect score. But after that, she came and told me, this question is secret. At first, I did not understand what she meant. But what she meant is, by asking me to calculate her own body mass index, I'm asking her weight and height. So since then, I usually calculate for myself. Because those things are often very sensitive, right? To ask people, how tall are you, or how much do you weigh, right? So since then, I learned my lesson. I usually just put my own numbers. On the exams, you will always see Professor Obiang. You're not going to see Pac something. No, sometimes I put Kim or Pac. All right. So then what do we do? For example, if we say, for example, if a person is 85 kilogram, right? How much water that person will need? If you say that we need 30 milliliters of water per kilogram, how much this person need every day?
2.5.
Okay, what did you do? Yeah, what did you do? Did you calculate it? You guys know I like the details, right?
Yeah.
If you just shoot me an answer, I believe in prayer, but not in that case. Alright? So I like miracles, but in that case you need to give me the details. How did you get the answer? Alright? So how did you get the answer? Tell me.
85 multiplied by 30.
So you need 85 kilogram, right? Multiplied by how much?
30.
By 30 what?
30 milliliters.
So how much did you get here?
2,550 milliliters.
2,500. So how many liters is that?
2.5.
2.5 liters. Okay? How much is it for somebody who's 60 kilograms? 1.8. Now, now it's going to vary. Of course, we look at the weight part here, but it's also going to vary depending on your level. So this is the basic calculation. Okay? Basic calculation. So let's do this one. I will give you some additional numbers. If a person, as you know, he's pretty big, probably very athletic, he does a lot of sports every day, so these people will probably need more water because of their physical activity level, right? Sorry. So, because of the physical activity level, they may need more water than a person who's sedentary or physically inactive. So then what do? So we have references here. So I put here sports, okay? So we put 1 hour or more. So here we put, for example, you must add plus 0.5 liters, 0.5 liters for moderate activity, okay? And then you may have to add a little bit more for high intensity, okay? And then you may add 1.5 for extremely high physical activity. So really, it's going to vary. So it's gonna vary. But I want to caution you. When I talk about water, it's not that you need to take a liter of water to drink every day. Why? Because you also get water from the food, right? You get water from the fruit. You get water from the coffee that you drink, from the tea that you drink, all right? So we also get water from there, right? So it's really a matter of really also listening to your body and realizing that, hey, maybe I need more water. So it's always good to flush the system with water, all right? Also, we have different type of calculations too that people will give depending on your age. If you are this age or if you have this weight, so it's going to vary. So I'm not going to go into these details. So let's just remember this simple formula in terms of physical activity and in terms of your weight. Okay? Everybody is good? So this is the part that I wanted to share with you guys today and close the chapter. on this note, where I did focus on the grains or minerals, and then on water, how much water we actually need every day. So what does it mean? It means that I may give you a problem, a specific problem, and in that problem, the weight is important, right? The weight is important when we also plan the diet, because if I ask you to calculate my body mass index, the body mass index will tell you where I am. Am I underweight? Am I okay? Am I overweight? Am I obese? Right? And what are the possible problems that a person can have? Okay? So we have to look at some of those things. Right? If the doctor says, oh, okay, the person has this amount of sugar in the blood, or what is happening? All right? We have excess of sodium, what is happening? We have a deficiency of calcium and vitamin D, what is happening? So on your note, what I will suggest you to do is to prepare a small table. I did something like that before. And it will be good for you from today to do something similar. We are not going to study all the vitamins or minerals. We're just going to choose some specific disease that I mentioned already. So we're not going to look at everything. All right? But those that I look at specifically, we need to know. Right? We need to know what is happening there. So, usually, what you can do is to have. I will show you a table quickly. So you need to have a similar table. I will on chapter 3. I will send you this table on chapter 3, but we will only look at specific diseases. We're not going to study everything. So I put some in bold, like iron deficiency anemia. The nutrient that is lacking is what? Iron. Okay, okay. We look at if you take the nutrition class with me, we will look at that disease again, a sign of weakness, right? Problem with thiamine, night blindness associated with vitamin A. Like we see, I skip some of them, even though I talk about kwashiorkor. If those were in nutrition class, we will look at it because it's an example of a nutrient or protein deficiency. Marasmus, cases of really complete nutrient deficiency. And then we have osteoporosis here, calcium and vitamin D. Okay, okay. The problem of pellagra, also in the nutrition class, we mentioned it. We see the difference between pellagra and ricket cases with children and adults. Some of the skin problem that happen. Okay, so we have to look at it. And scurvy, the problem of vitamin C. All right. And vitamin C, again, we don't need much of these vitamins, like 10 milligrams a day, not much, all right? So planning our diet is actually very, very important, very, very critical, all right? So we look at all of that and go from there. Okay, okay. Any questions? Questions? Okay, guys, you look very tired. I still have at least a lot of minutes, but for today, I will let you go early. And Wednesday morning, we will do the review of this chapter using Socratic. My problem is we want to make sure that we have the Wi-Fi here in the room, okay? We're going to have the first quiz coming up, so make sure you really study, all right? So go home early today. Just remember, there's a quiz coming up pretty soon. Okay? Those who have questions, come and see me now. I should be here. All right? 키먼서 키먼서 조동영 반대학교
아, 그래? 나도 그랬어?